Hey, welcome back to Mrs. Wizard's Way. And how do you survive in the classroom? I've got 6 ways that'll help you make it through the school year. Let's get started. So hey, now that the honeymoon period is over in the classroom, where everybody's all happy and we're going to solve all the problems of the world and the kids are going to learn everything and it's going to be hunky-dory and perfect, yeah, that wears off pretty soon. And you got to learn how to survive that classroom experience. And I've got 26 years behind me that, the first years I was just too lost to even know what was going on. But at the end, I was like, I know some ways that can really help you get through some of those tough years and some of those tough times and make your life easier. And surprisingly, some of the things I have are things that teachers do to themselves to make their life harder. Today I've got 6 of them to go through, 6 ways that will help keep you from wanting to quit. But before I get started, just want to give you guys a quick reminder that my part works, that I have my latest batch. You can see examples on the screen. The auction ends on Wednesday, September 18th. So if you're into those, want some of those part works from the Car Wizards shop that I make, check out those auctions. The link is in the description below. We hear about so many teachers quitting. The last one was a teacher in Battle Creek, Michigan, and it was really sad. He had a flag on his wall, and it said, "Science is real, Black Lives Matter, no human is illegal, love is love, women's rights is human rights, and kindness is everything." And the administration said, "That's not approved. Take it down." And his option was, you know what? Bam. There's that final blow to that nail in the quitting coffin. He'd had enough. I get it. And there's probably more to the story that we don't know as to what's, actually in that story. Who knows what other things were involved. But on the surface, that's what we see. And it doesn't take that much after you've been berated and berated for what seems like years, but it's probably been months. But it's hard to work in an environment like that. And were any of those things inherently bad? No. The administration said that it was a political statement. Well, good grief, anything today can be a political statement. Hell, Hello Kitty could be a political statement anymore, with her hanging on a wall just saying, hello. Yeah, somebody can make that as a political statement. It's rather ridiculous, and it's sad that that's what we've come to as a society. They ask teachers to do the impossible, especially after COVID, and where we try and build relationships with kids, and that poster, that flag was trying to do that, and the administration says it's not approved for the curriculum. Well, guess what? Teachers teach a lot of stuff that's not in the curriculum. But I've got, as I said, I got 6 things that will help you not want to quit. And so my first one is get protection. Whoa, we learned that in sex ed. Okay, no, not that kind of protection. No, you do need some sort of a protection. I was not the avid go hard union, but I did join the union. As a teacher, it really doesn't matter. There's no different pay if you're union or non-union. But what the union does is it can provide you protection if you have a crazy parent who wants to try and come after you, or a crazy student. The students know the rules anymore, and the students know if the teacher does something wrong, I'm going to go cry to mommy and daddy. Yeah, we got a little bit of an entitled generation going on right now. And so you need some sort of a protection. Even if you're not a teacher and you're in a professional setting, you need protection. Now, if it's not a union, there are other companies that offer that. Think of like malpractice insurance for doctors. They've had that forever. Not that we always malpractice, but that doesn't mean somebody can't sue you thinking they can get money out of you. And we're to that time in life. The second one I have is watch out for toxic people. You think, oh, but teachers are happy and loving and great people. Not really. No, there's some really nasty, mean ones out there. Those mean people you went to high school with? They grew up and they never left school. They went right back into it and started teaching there. Yeah, so try and stay away from the gossips. Stay out of the lounge, the copy room, where any people can just kind of congregate. I never understood it. There were people hanging out in those places, or even in the office. I'm like, what the heck? Don't you people have things to do? I was always busy. I made sure I was busy at school. So when I left school, That's another thing. We'll get to it. But I was a leader in my department, and I had a person in my department that after school, we were assigned locations to help make sure the kids exited the building well. Well, I was assigned an area clear by the front door to make sure people got out. I guess when they trust you, they put you in the high priority areas. Thanks. So, but she was assigned kind of at the end of her hallway. Well, another teacher was assigned to go out by this end of the hallway by this door that led outside. This is one of those toxic people. And the person in my department is kind of insecure, doesn't know where they are, trying to always figure out who they are. And they were just taking all that negativity that that person was talking about at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, you're extra grumpy. And she was just soaking it up. I was like, and everybody else in my department was like, what's going on with this person? I actually had to go to the assistant principal who was in charge of that plan for after school, supervision. I said, can you separate those two? There's a lot going on there that I really don't need my, that talk coming into my department. And he did. It wasn't rude. It wasn't like, hey, yeah, we need you to cover this other door. And it was okay with her because it was closer to her classroom. And she's like, oh, good. I don't have to walk as far to get to the other one. I can go to this other by over there. So it was okay. And, the two never knew what happened. And did that person that was in my department get better? Oh, yeah. They weren't so grumpy and gripey after that. My third one is administrators come and go. In my 19 years at my last school, I had 7 different principals. Yeah. 19 years, 7 principals. So every couple of years, we would get somebody new. And it was really frustrating for a very long time. We were kind of training ground for getting administrators into other buildings. And it was really frustrating. And so there'd be times where I'm just figuring out who they are, and they get transferred. In the spring, you'd be like, oh, hey, the transfer list is out. And I'm like, oh. Sometimes it's like, oh, you're so good. And sometimes you're like, yes, they're gone. They didn't get the school. They didn't, because the school was there before them. It's continuing after they leave. And so that was always frustrating. So do remember that. Administrators aren't going to be there forever. Okay, and that was just the principals. I'm not talking the assistant principals. I'm not going to count all of them. But just know they're not going to be there forever. And so that can be some assurance to know that you don't have to plan that they're going to be there for your entire teaching career. It's just not going to happen. My fourth one is don't overwork yourself. Now this one is going to come in 2. This one's going to be about lessons. Kids don't care about really major complicated lessons. I've seen some that look like Hollywood productions. I'm not kidding. They're just way over the top and planning. Yeah, when my daughter got into high school and doing a lot of the e-learning because of COVID, I tried to keep it simple. Go to this one place, do this one assignment, turn it in here. Go here, here, here. It's very simple, very, repetitive. Not that the lessons were repetitive. What they learned was very different from each one, but they knew where to go, what to do, how to turn it in. But she had other teachers like, hey, I need you to go here, now go here, now go here, no, here, 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 here. And if I had arms, my whole entire screen would be filled with arms at this point. They were confused and they were angry. It's like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know what's going on. Instead of spending hours working on lessons that the kids are going to blow through in 30 minutes, don't. Your goal is to ensure they learn the material. That's it. That's what they need to do. They don't need the production. They don't need all of the bells and whistles. Doesn't mean it needs to be boring and read a book and answer the questions at the end of the chapter. Oh, dear Lord, please don't do that to them. Make it something interesting and have energy yourself. I assume your name is not Ben Stein, from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I don't think that's it. I don't think you're that boring. But you don't need to, get up and, have a cheerleading routine. Now that goes to number 5. Don't overwork your grade book either, okay? Sometimes we put too many things into the grade book. Now I have 2 examples for this, and they both are for my daughter. One was her 4th grade teacher. And the 4th grade teacher was all gung-ho at the beginning of the year. We're going to do this and this and this and this. I'm going to set it all up in my grade book. Well, she did weighted grading, and she probably had 8 different categories to her weighted grades. Now, those of you who are familiar with weighted grades or have taken classes with weighted grades, usually it's maybe participation, that's sometimes homework, and tests. That's typically what it is. Sometimes it's just 2, homework and tests, that's it. But she had like 7 or 8. And I'm like, okay, maybe she's got this down. Well, this teacher recently came to the district that my daughter was in, and she had left the district I was in because we were in different districts for a while. And so she left that. I'm wondering, now I'm starting to wonder why you left that, because she started to use those weighted grades. She started to put a few assignments in different categories, a couple of them. But then as the year progressed, it pretty much got down to like 2 or 3 categories, shockingly. And so I tried to email her at one point because my daughter there was all these grades. And I was like, what are you doing? Hey, this is getting complicated to understand what's going on here. Oh, yeah, she didn't really have an answer. And I couldn't explain to her what weighted grades and all this was. Well, my daughter had 1 grade in 1 category. And luckily it was a good grade. But as the time went on, she never added any more than that 1 grade. And this 1 section was worth about 5% of the overall grade. So not a huge percentage, but okay. Well, at least she's got a good grade in that category. I feel really bad for the ones who have a bad grade in that category. But as the year went on, there were some categories that never got grades. She never put anything in that category, in that weighted section. And so what did the automatic gradebook do? Because it was an electronic gradebook, it just spread it out to the others. So that little 5 became like a 7 or an 8%. Yeah. It became even more valuable for her 1 assignment. So don't make life harder on yourself. She didn't understand what she was doing. She should never have done it. Typically, if I was putting in grades and I wanted something to be, bigger and more important, I just made it more points. That's what I did. If it was a big project, it got more points. If it was a small little worksheet, it got fewer points, which actually leads to my next one. My next one is a class my daughter was required to take her senior year, graduating required class. And this teacher, and I think I mentioned this in a previous video, this teacher liked power, I think. I really think they liked power. And it was everyday class, 5 days a week for 50 minutes. He would have bell work, which is just AKA for teacher getting their stuff together at the beginning of class. Really not a lot of educational value into it. So, okay, he's got bell work. And so the kids immediately come in, sit down, and start typing on this bell work. Bell work is usually should be something simple, easy. No, it was like writing a paragraph or more down. And then he's ready to start the lesson. And so he said, kids, why aren't you listening to me? They're all typing on their computers. Well, it's because they're like, well, sir, if we don't finish this bell work that's required every day for points, you lock it down in the computer system and I can't answer and I lose those points and I can't get them back. Would you like I should have just offered him the gun to shoot himself in the foot. I'm like, dude, if you want kids to learn something, okay, if you want them to do bell work, fine. Do a checkoff system, have a seating chart and mark off who did it. Okay, don't make it required typed out multiple sentences. Just because you need to take attendance? I don't think so. It was not a required curriculum item. I can't imagine. It seems ridiculous. And then he had tons and tons and tons of assignments. It's like, why? Why are you're hurting yourself with the more you have to grade. Your job, again, like I said in the last one, was to make sure that they learn. That's mastery. That's what you need to do as a teacher. Well, it doesn't mean issuing 500 assignments. In my room, what I do is I would introduce it. So a lot of times just maybe read something about it and do some sort of a response. Just a few points, easy to grade. And then we did a project, because I'm an art teacher. We did an art project, and it illustrated what we had just talked about. So if we talked about, black and white photography, we took black and white photos, and I showed them how to edit them. And how did they do in their editing? Yeah, that is all there was to it. I could look at their final product and say, yes, that is done well. I don't need to do it 100 times. If they can do it and they show they can do it, I know they're good. It's kind of like if you think to your math class. A lot of times you were assigned only do the evens or only do the odds. You didn't have to do all of them. They halved it for you. You don't need to do 100 assignments. You just need to show that you can learn it. And this teacher just killed himself because he was always grumpy and always just like, oh, there's so much going on. Well, dude, take it off your own plate. The last one I have is sad. Plan for the worst. Yeah. To date, as of September 15th, there have been 417 school shootings, 213 people killed, and 472 people injured. Now that includes, people in the building, students, okay? Every classroom I taught, I had a plan. Yeah. If this happens, I'm going to do that. If this happens, I'm going to do that. We actually practiced it once a year as a school. I didn't practice it on my own, but I knew if we're in this area, this is what we need to do. Yeah. That's sad that we have to plan for the worst. And don't just think, oh, it's just in schools. Think about it anytime. You can't go grocery shopping. There's been shootings there. You can't go to your local grocery. You can't go to Walmart. There's been shootings there. My cousin's husband's brother, got that? Was one of the people killed in that theater in Denver many years ago. Yeah. You don't think, oh, it'll never happen. But it does. And what's really sad is that teachers don't get hazard pay. Teachers, we break up fights. We have a potential for having, situations where someone could come in with a weapon. And my school did. I can think of at least twice. One was a weapon was there, one was the threat of a weapon. There was one time when I was student teaching where someone came into the building and they locked us down. Yeah. I remember another time there was a homeless person who came into the building I was at the first high school I was teaching at. Yeah. You don't know what people are going to do anymore. You don't know what kids are going to do. You don't know what coworkers are going to do. It's really sad. So I guess, make sure you have a plan. So that is what I have. 6 things that you need to think about that will help make your life, or at least take the stress off of you to make your school year as good as possible. So I'm glad you're with me today. Remember, my Partworks auction ends this week. If you're interested, that link's in the description below. But otherwise, I have to catch you next time. See ya.